Hello, welcome once again to our fun and exciting Wednesday night webinar. Now, normally we would do the Diversity Matters webinar tonight, but I was concerned due to the inauguration today and some of the things that have happened in the last week that maybe there would be some nefarious things happening today. So in an abundance of respect to a guest, in case there would be something that was going on, I did not do a Diversity Matters webinar tonight. We will continue them going forward next month. But hope we can have some fun tonight answering some cool questions. I did get some already from Background Kaylee. Thank you, Background Kaylee, by the way, for sending those to me. And we'll start off with some of these from it looks like the Instagram or the Twitter, the tweets or the Instas, as the kids say these days, because they're the cool ones. Can you cure OCD completely? No. All right, so there we go. That's done. Anything else? No. I never talk about curing OCD. I talk about learning to live with OCD, right? That's what you do. You learn to live with OCD, just like you can live with depression or panic or phobia or something like that. You may have an elevator phobia and then learn how to overcome it, and you might still have some twinges about elevators, but you can definitely learn how to live with that. Go on with your life. So we got that. Every time I get angry, my brain throws intrusive thoughts at me. Is this OCD? And if so, what happens? Well, every time I get angry, my brain throws intrusive thoughts at me too, and I don't have OCD. So it could just be that our brains do these things when we get angry. I have shared on here, of course, that if someone cuts me off in traffic, my initial thought is to run them off the road. So here's the problem. I think the question gets more into this. Is it bad to have intrusive thoughts? And since every single human being in the world has intrusive thoughts, I can't necessarily say that these are bad things. They are just human things, is what they are more than anything else. So now we have to decide if it's okay to be human, or do we have to do what OCD wants us to do, which is to be superhuman, to be beyond what every other human is, and that it's fine for every other human to have these intrusive thoughts, but it's not fine for me. It's unacceptable for me. So now when we have to live in a world where the rules are different for me than they are for everyone else, that becomes a problem, doesn't it? So we got to think about that now. Do I have to live like this, where it's fine for everyone else to be here and I have to be here? This makes me equal to everyone else. If I'm like this, I'm a failure, because then I'm just like everybody else, and I can't be just like everybody else because OCD won't allow that, because OCD sees that as wrong. So to be like everyone else, I have to be better than everyone else to be just as acceptable as everybody else. It's okay if other people have intrusive thoughts. Not okay for me, right? But it's absolutely fine, because they maybe don't think about their thoughts, or maybe they have more control over their thoughts, or maybe they don't want their thoughts more than I think I don't want my thoughts, and therefore if they have them, it's somehow different. And the answer is boo hockey. That's not the case at all. They're intrusive thoughts, and that's all they are. And if you want to spend time overthinking them, you are absolutely allowed to do that. It is your prerogative. But I will tell you what a massive, massive waste of time that is. Okay. How do I stop thinking about negative things? You don't. All right. You absolutely don't stop thinking about those types of things. So it's not about stopping yourself from that kind of stuff, right? It's about learning to live with it. That's what we need to do. So there becomes those problems as well too. Do we get to the point where we stop thinking negative things? No, we absolutely do not get to a point where we stop thinking about negative things. I don't know anybody in the world who doesn't think about negative things. Not one. And in fact, I've shared this on here as well too. I've absorbed many of the negative things that other people are talking about, right? So now I think them too. I put negative in quotes, by the way, because I don't consider them negative things whatsoever. So it is what it is, right? We can waste a lot of time trying to stop thinking about negative things. Or we can just accept that all of us had them. All right. I'm just making sure background Kaylee's here with us tonight. There she is. Okay, good. All right. And then any advice to practice ERP without instantly mentally checking my feelings? Well, how about this? Just because you check your feelings doesn't mean that you have to do anything then afterwards about it, right? Could we just kind of move on from that and recognize that maybe that's just something I do, but just because I do it doesn't mean that I have to then go somewhere with it or do anything about it. Okay. So let's look at it that way as well too. Again, I wish I could get you to just stop doing all of these things that so far all of the questions have asked, right? How can I stop having negative thoughts? How do I stop checking my feelings? Do you know anyone who can stop their feelings? I don't. I don't know how to stop checking feelings. But I do know that just because we check them doesn't mean something bad's happening, right? And even if they're telling us that they're bad, does that actually mean that it is true? You know? Do we have to think that everything that pops into our head is true? So let me see. So someone wants to ask a question. Is small thread is important? I don't know what that means, but I'm having Kaylee contact you so that she will check in with you. So we'll get that information. Kaylee will get on that. Thank you, Kaylee. All right. So let's see. First question. If I'm doing pretty well with not getting pulled into intrusive thoughts, acknowledging them, letting them do their thing, and moving on with my day, how shall I stay diligent with ERP? Well, one thing that I've had people do is make a list of all of the different things that you have worked on in ERP and randomly each day pick one of them and do them again. So that way you're always doing a fresh kind of ERP. You're not just getting tired on one that you're working on. And I think that that can be really helpful for a lot of people. Sometimes I've even had people take, 6 ERP to do a week, roll a die, and pick the one that goes with that number, do that one that day, cross that one off the list, then the next day roll another die, see which one comes up, and keep rolling the die until that one, whichever numbers you have available kind of come up. And that way you're always picking something new on a daily basis, but you're not able to prepare for it because you don't know what the die roll is going to be. You're just gonna go with the die roll and see where the roll of the die takes you. So that could be really helpful for people. I was wondering if you could help me out with compulsive confessing in my relationship. She's told me she doesn't want to hear any more confessions, but OCD says if only she knew. Sure, Sean. So, Sean, let's say that she left you for confessing. Now, your OCD would say, well, then she wasn't probably really worth staying with if she didn't really want to know the truth. But, Sean, imagine this. Imagine if you and I were dating, Sean. And every day, no matter what, even if you didn't want to hear it, I came up and confessed to you about every single person I saw that day that was attractive, and every single person I thought about maybe it would be fun to have sex with, or every single person that I wondered if maybe they looked at me and they were attracted at me. And Sean, if we had hours of conversation about that every day for the next 2 years, would that be a satisfying relationship to you, Sean? Or would you, Sean, find that that conversation would get very old very quickly over time? Something to consider. If that would get very old very quickly, Sean, then you think you have an idea about what it would be like maybe dating you right now as well too. So just because your OCD says to you, if she only knew, doesn't actually mean a darn thing, right? Not at all. Not in the slightest even. Maybe she just doesn't care because she loves you for who you are now. And maybe it's all those experiences, no matter what they were in the past, that have led you to become the person that you are today. And that's the person that she loves. Could very well be, right? I don't know everything about my wife or everybody she's dated before me or what she might have done with them. And frankly, I have no desire to know. I don't give a I don't give a crap. She doesn't know everything I've done. And we don't care. It's fine. Whatever. Now you might say, oh, but you didn't do what I did. I did blah, 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 blah. Your OCD will tell you that, but what can one do, Sean? How must one record their entire life and say to the person we date, now I'm 37 years old, here's the 37 years of recordings of my life before we are actually able to date each other. I'd like you to watch these. It will, if you're awake for 16 hours a day, so that adds another third. So it'll take over 50 years for you to watch the 37 years of recordings of my life, but that will bring us up to 87. So at 87, we'll be able to get together and get married, because then you'll have seen everything about my life and everything that I've ever done. And then you can make the ultimate decision on if I'm worth being with you or not. Of course, Sean, that would mean for then the next 50 years, you have to lock yourself in a panic room and do nothing else that you would add to the film as well, too, or else it would be very hard for your partner to catch up to the experience as well. But, you know, it might work. So maybe it's what you do. Maybe it's how you go about working on this or something like that, right? You could see. Or you trust that your spouse or partner has said to you the truth, which is, I really don't want to know any more about this. Please stop. And you make that your exposure and response prevention exercise. You sit with the doubt that you have and the guilt that you have, or whatever other crap's up there in the head that OCD's throwing at you. And you say to your OCD, I'm not going to let you ruin my relationship. It's just not going to happen. Any tips on how to deal with thought action fusion? Maybe several thousand, by the way. Do thoughts equal actions, right? And I've done this just here. I've looked at the ceiling and I've wished for it to collapse on me without doing any rituals. And as of yet, there's been no collapse. So if thought action fusion worked and thoughts were as bad as actions, then the thought of the ceiling collapsing on me, or the image of it, or the urge to have it occur, would have killed me by now. Now, the day that someone proves to me that a thought is actually as bad as an action, I will change my mind about thought action fusion. So far, not one person in 21 years of treating OCD has shown me that that's the case, but I'm always open to anyone giving the attempt. It's kind of like the amazing James Randi, who put a $1 million out. If any psychic could come onto his show that he had and prove they had psychic abilities, he would give them $1 million. He had a check ready. Never once did anyone either go do it or pass the test. Here's the thing. OCD does not pass the test. OCD boasts and tells you all sorts of stuff, but I still have not yet seen OCD pass the test. So if any of you can figure it out, how OCD can actually pass the test, please let me know. All right. But Otherwise, you're all a victim of a lie. And the lie is perpetuated by your obsessive compulsive disorder. And all of you have been duped and tricked into believing it, no matter what it is that it's telling you. If any of you could put into the chat something that OCD told the truth about, I'd be really interested to read that. Okay? That'd be really, really cool to see. So if you have been consistently told the truth by your OCD, please put it in the comments. Let's see what it is. But until then, I think OCD is just a liar. My OCD is making me question whether I want to quit my job. What should I do? Well, tell your OCD to go jump in a lake. That's what you should do. All right? That's my first suggestion right there. You know, why would you listen to anything that your OCD tells you to do? Again, when has it ever told you something positive or good? You know, no one's ever walked in my office and said, you know, Dr. McGrath, I'm afraid that everybody loves me and thinks I'm awesome. Never once has that ever been part of my treatment that I've ever done with anyone. Not one time. And yet, but what if my OCD's telling the truth? Well, that would be impossible. You know why? Because OCD only lies. So it would be impossible for your OCD to tell the truth. It's the best that I can tell you. How do I overcome self-harm OCD? Well, to be very blunt, by the fact that you just wrote that, you overcome self-harm OCD every day. Because you wouldn't be able to write that if you weren't around. So I would say on a daily basis, you're overcoming self-harm OCD, and you're showing your self-harm OCD every day. I don't have to listen to you. You too are a liar. I mean, I could sit here and think about harming myself right now. Yeah, all right, here, hold on. I must have some implement of destruction around here somewhere, I'm thinking. Let me see. Oh, good, I've got a compass right here. I could think about taking this metal point on this compass, and I'm just gonna hold it and think about stabbing my eye with it. Just give it a good jab right in there, okay? In fact, I'm gonna just hold it right here, right on my eye, right next to my eye, so that all I need to do is go and just give it a good push. What's the likelihood that I'm actually gonna do it? I'm fully giving myself the opportunity right now to take this metal point and just pop my eye right out. In fact, I'm even putting it, I'm putting it right there in the little crevice of my eye even. Just there it is. It would just take an impulse to go like that, right into my eye, and I could pop my eye out. Let's spend a moment. I'm just going to really concentrate, and let's test that last question too about thought action fusion. I'm just going to think really, really hard about popping my eye out right now with this compass. Yeah. Maybe another day. Ooh, I got a staple remover. I could put my nose. I would put this right inside these pinchers. I would put it inside my nose there. Now I've got it up in there. All I need to do is just really slam this thing down, and I could pierce my nose right here on camera in front of all of you. Or I could just also remove it, even though I've given myself the opportunity to harm myself. So I don't know. Ah, a good one here. Thanks, Max. How do I know it's OCD or if it's actually real? Well, if it's real, it happens, right? If it's OCD, well, it never really happens. It's what ifs. just kind of take a look at, does everything you fear start off with a what if? Pretty good indicator, right? Now, I'm not going to say it's 100% what ifs, right? There's other ways that people look at it too, but for the most part, that's what we're seeing. It's interesting that I've spent 21 years of treating people who have never actually done the thing they're afraid of. So I've either been very lucky or people's OCD is just not quite strong enough yet. But maybe it'll get there. Maybe one day it'll just get there. Considering evil people exist, how do you separate normal thoughts from desires? I don't. I have desires at times to cause grave bodily injury to certain people. Doesn't mean I've ever done it. Well, I did once, actually. And for those of you who aren't familiar, some of you have heard the story already. I might actually, just so all of you know, be the most dangerous person on this webinar tonight. I did once attempt to kill someone when I was in my 20s. And the police were involved in all sorts of things, although they shook my hand and told me great job for what I had done because someone attacked my family. And so here was somebody who was drunk and kind of out of their mind. And after he hit my mom, I lost it and went into utter total battle rage mode. And it took 4 police officers to get me off of him as I beat him senseless about the face, breaking his nose and causing lots of other damage to him. And when the police got the comments from everybody in line and, around the restaurant that we were at, they were all shaking my hand going, well, nice job. Protect your mother. Excellent work. Yeah. We'll take him to jail right now, kind of thing. So potentially the person who's done more damage to any other human being on this webinar is the guy who's actually doing the speaking on the webinar. So maybe I'm either not the best person to answer these questions about harm, since I did attempt to gravely harm someone, or I'm not a kind of person who really harms people unless I'm provoked to do so, and I did so because of the provocation and not just some random type of thing that occurs. So maybe I turned out to be one of the best people to speak about this instead of not one of the best people. So. JP asked a question similar to what we have with Sean. How do I deal with the fear of cheating on my partner? I've been struggling with thinking my past mistakes from years ago will make me a cheater, even though I never cheated. Well, then guess what, JP? My past mistakes will cause me to fall down the stairs. So now I have to wonder how I'm going to deal with stairs, JP, because I've made mistakes in my past. And obviously, when we make mistakes in the past, they either A, cause us to cheat on our spouses, or B, fall down the stairs. So, JP, it's probably best we don't get together, because we could be walking down the stairs with our partners and maybe fall into each other's arms, appearing that we cheat on them while we're falling down the stairs. That would be like the worst case scenario potentially right there, JP, if it went that way. Or past mistakes don't have to be predictive of any future kind of experience either. So, all right. So tonight's webinar brought to you by NoCD. NoCD downloadable app. Go to nocdhelp.com. Go to the Google Play or the iOS. We're there. Teletherapy all over the country. Feel free to reach out to us. Let us help you out. See what we can do. And guess what? Guess what? We got lots of insurance companies that are providing things as well too. So feel free. Let us know how we can help you. All right. Let's see some other things here. Yes. Someone made a comment about reassurance. Yes, don't ask for reassurance. No. Not the best thing to do. Let me just check in, everyone, for one moment with Beck and Kaylee. All right. Very good. Someone said, wow, that I thing, you're dedicated. Well, no, I don't know that I'm dedicated. Well, I mean, I am dedicated, but I don't see it as all, dangerous. So someone asked, can I ask you a question about intrusive thought? Yeah, go ahead. Ask away. With everything going on politically and socially, can OCD make you doubt your stance on things like racism or political views? Of course. Yeah. Boy, the Black Lives Matter was a huge thing in OCD. What if I don't go out and protest? Does that mean that I'm too white and I don't feel the pain of my African-American brothers and sisters? Maybe I should be out there on the front lines and protesting and doing all these things. And is there ever enough? Or we saw this with the Me Too movement. What if maybe when I was in high school, I whistled at someone and they were offended? Now, did I somehow ruin their lives or make things horrible for them? And should I find them and apologize? But I don't remember who they were. And so I must spend lots of time on this kind of stuff. And yes, absolutely. Anything politically and socially will be fodder for your OCD. And your OCD is going to grab on it and go, maybe you, hey, maybe you just might have violated one of these things here. Let's spend the next 77 days exploring your life to find out if just maybe, that might be you. Maybe you don't do things anti-racist enough, which maybe shows that you maybe are racist. And maybe you don't, do things Me Too enough, which means that you really are a perv and an awful, horrible being. Maybe, right? That's where your OCD is going to go with it. Does it mean it's true? No, of course not. But in OCD world, hell yeah. So. Now, someone talked about wanting to hurt themselves on here. So, of course, we all have to address that for a minute. And it looks like there's been some resources that have been reached out for that. So thank you, Kaylee, for doing those. And Swagata, please check into those should you need them. Okay. No one has to suffer with OCD. Just remember that, everyone. It is not necessary to suffer with obsessive compulsive disorder because there is very good treatment available. Very, very good treatment available. How do you deal with loss of attraction with ROCD and HOCD? Well, you recognize that it's because of ROCD and HOCD. That's why. That's how. Remember, in OCD, you can never be attracted enough to someone. And if you're not attracted enough, maybe it means you're not attracted at all because OCD is so very all or nothing about everything as well, too. So, I mean, again, can you win with OCD? Can you ever do anything well enough for OCD? No, not at all. And then look at how bad you feel about the fact that you didn't do well enough. And then you jump on yourself and say, well, that must mean that I just don't really want that. Maybe that's what that means. Or I don't deserve it, or I'm not good enough for it, or something like that. Nah, it just means you have OCD. Really, that's what it means. You could take all that other stuff with it if you choose to. You don't have to by any means. But if you choose to, you can. But all it does is make you more miserable over time. So I don't know why you really want to go there. But OCD always wants to go there because that's what OCD does. I mean, again, no one's No one's OCD leads to like a celebration or anything like that. You know, there's a lot of pity party stuff, but there's no celebrations whatsoever. So here's a good one. I'm afraid doing too many compulsions has permanently messed me up. Any advice? Well, then I should call the 87-year-old person that I treated, who was the oldest person I ever treated, and told him, I lied to you. You've done too many compulsions in your life now because you're 87 and you've been doing them for 70 years since you've had OCD, and therefore you're screwed. There's nothing that we can do for you. Or it just doesn't matter. Is it possible I have an intrusive thought in another one, which is in continuation of the previous one? It makes me feel like it's my fantasy and something, my own thoughts. It stresses me out so much. Well, yeah, of course, thoughts can just string upon each other and build upon each other. Yeah. And then OCD will say, well, you weren't guilty enough about that thought. So what if we add another one to it? Oh, well, look at that. Maybe now look. So what does that mean? If that other one doesn't make you feel guilty, you must maybe like that one. And I had to add more to it to get you to really feel guilty about it. So look, you sick perv. That other one doesn't bother you? You're disgusting. You're horrible. You're an awful person. How could you not be bothered by that? My gosh, it's a good thing I'm around, or else you'd be going and doing all sorts of pervy, disgusting, awful, horrible things. By not having me around, do you see what your life would be like? You got to keep me, says your OCD. You got to have me with you, or else you'd be one disgusting, horrible person who'd probably be in jail by now. It is by purely the grace of me, your OCD, that you are not in jail, are not on the news, anything like that. So you better keep me around, because I'm going to keep you from just going off the deep end and losing control and going crazy and, popping your eye out or whatever else you might do. Right. How do you get over thinking your thoughts are actually true and you read they are? Well, I have never seen one thought that's true. I mean, I've seen actions that come and people do, but I just don't look at thoughts as true or not true. I just look at them as thoughts. That's what they are. Or right or wrong. I mean, heck, just look at there were people who went into the Capitol and thought this is a great idea, and there were other people who thought what a horrible idea. Well, the people who thought it was a great idea thought it was a great idea, and the people who thought it was a horrible idea thought it was a horrible idea. I have my own opinion about what it was. What that is, though, doesn't really matter. What matters is some people thought it was good and some people thought it wasn't. Which one was right? Depends on who you ask. So OCD wants an absolute, right? There is an absolute for everything. There's always an absolute for everything. OCD would love there to be absolutes for everything. But we live in a world where there are not absolutes about everything. And therefore, fodder for OCD. Oh, look, there's multiple opinions about this. Why don't we explore all of them to see which one will make us feel the crappiest? And then let's believe that one's probably the one that we are. What a great disorder. Sounds fun, huh? Think about it. Would any of you suggest to any of your friends, hey, how's your relationship? Because, maybe you should tell them all the shitty things you ever did in your entire life prior to now to see if they'd still want to be with you. I think it's a great idea. I'm going to bet none of you would suggest that to anybody else. And yet, how many of you do that yourself? Sarah says, I'm nervous to be here because I've been doing well and I don't want to think about OCD, but I push myself to be here so I don't develop aversion around focusing on OCD. Sounds fantastic. Welcome. Glad you're here. Mm-hmm. Whenever I get obsessive thoughts, sometimes I just follow that thought so that it would not come later, surprisingly, or all of a sudden it would be less fearful or anxious. Excellent response prevention. Good job. Keep going. Mm-hmm. Can you obsess on getting a physical sensation like butterflies or chills so much that you actually start to feel those when do checking? Yes, absolutely. Also the source of every groinal that every person with OCD has ever had as well, too. Hey, Natalie. Natalie's offering her thoughts to everybody else. I've probably had them all. Let's see. How do I deal with confession compulsions in my relationship? Yeah, that's Sean. Okay, we did that one already. Look at you, Sean, typing things twice. Whenever I get a thought of the ceiling falling down, I just think it more in a milder way, like it's falling slowly and not hitting my head hard. Is that a compulsion? Yes. I want you to think about it just smacking your head and taking your head right off your body. That's how I want you to think about it. I'm going to do that right now. I'm still here, not bothered. Okay. How do I deal with thoughts that I might suddenly want to be rebellious? Hey, Haley, whoa, slow it down there. Let's not get too crazy now. Or, who doesn't have thoughts about that? Right? I don't know anyone who doesn't have thoughts about that. Maybe I'm going to run outside and do a Will Ferrell and go streaking. Look at me, the rebel that I am. Believe me, no one wants to see that, by the way. But it could happen. Who knows? Maybe I will. If you see me on the news of man arrested in his suburb for streaking the neighborhood in 9-degree weather in the middle of the evening on a Wednesday night, you'll know it was me. Shalanda, thank you. I like you. How does one deal with real life event OCD? Lots of people get compulsions to confess sometimes, which can be damaging to careers and relationships. Yeah, well, absolutely. So just because an event has happened, to us, recognize this, everyone. This shouldn't be a shocker to anybody. Every one of us have done some things that we regret in our life. This guy too. Every one of us have done things that other people have judged us for. This guy too. We don't have to share those with everybody in the world. We just don't. There's just not a reason to do so. But OCD tells us, oh, we do. I mean, how could somebody really truly know me or love me or want to work with me if they don't know that 17 years ago I stole a pen from Walgreens or whatever? I have to confess these things, or I ran a red light, or I stole a stop sign and then there was an accident the next day at the intersection, or whatever it is, because I've seen all these things in movies and various things that loves to be a subject matter which OCD will pick up on. I mean, boy, if that's the case, we need a Truth and Reconciliation Commission where every single human being on the planet gets up in front of every other human being on the planet and gets their 5 minutes in front of the microphone to tell everyone else what a craphead they are. And we can all publicly shame you and then see if we forgive you or not. I mean, OCD would love that. OCD would love to be back in like medieval times, where you'd be on the stockade and we'd have the parchment. I will now read the list of crap this person has done in their life to all of you, so you may throw rotten tomatoes and lettuce at their head. Maybe we could do that. Or, that sounds horrible to all of us, except for OCD, which OCD's now going, that might have some merit there. Maybe we should think about that. That sounds pretty good. Maybe we not do that, though. Just let that one go. Moving along. Why do our minds lie and try to trick us? because we're humans, and it seems to be the thing that minds do to all of us. So that's not OCD, by the way. That's just everybody in the world. So just so you know. Well, thank you, Memo. How to do with ERP. I'm assuming that means how do you do ERP? Well, it's two things. Two things, everybody. Two. Number one, the E, exposure, exposing yourself to things that are uncomfortable. Number two, the response prevention. And what is that? The elimination of safety behaviors. And there are 5 safety behaviors that we want to look at: avoidance, reassurance, distraction, substance use, and compulsions. So what do we need to do when we expose ourselves to things that are uncomfortable? We must face it without avoiding it. We must do it without everyone telling us we'll be fine or okay. We must fully engage in it without distracting ourselves with our phones or whatever else we can use. We must do it sober, without any drugs or alcohol in our system, so that we fully learn how to handle it. And we must not do compulsions, so that we fully engage in the experience and realize, hey, look, I didn't do a compulsion. And hey, what do you know? Nothing bad actually happened. There we go. Okay. That's how it works. There is no difference between my contamination OCD from eating something dirty off the floor or eating something after using the bathroom and not washing my hands afterwards. Yeah, right. When I have the OCD, sorry, whenever I have that OCD thought, I have a really bad headache and it's turning my life upside down, should I still not ignore these thoughts? How about this? Even if your OCD tells you have a bad headache and your life is turning upside down, I want you to go out and I want you to live your life. That's what I want you to do. Okay? Don't let OCD stop you from living your life. That's when OCD really starts digging in then. It's like making your life smaller and smaller instead of bigger and better. Okay? Why would anybody accept something that makes their life smaller and smaller instead of bigger and better? Think about that. And if you're stuck knowing if that's what you're doing, ask yourself, would I give the advice of what I'm doing to anyone else I know or love? And if the answer is no, it ain't worth doing for yourself. Oh, this is a continuation of the bathroom one. The other night I didn't freak out. It's maybe nasty and disgusting, but it challenges my contaminant OCD, so I start to learn that I don't have to freak out about every little thing. Yes, you don't have to freak out about every little thing. Newsflash. Newsflash, story at 11. No need to freak out about everything, everyone. No need to freak out about everything. Totally unnecessary to do. No need to freak out about everything. Okay, there we go. I just want to get that newsflash out of the way. I find that when I'm doing well, my OCD looks for other compulsions. So I think I won't be able to sleep, or I have to check my car, or I harm myself, etc. Do I simply continue to do ERP with each fear? Yes, 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 and yes for that one too. Yeah, so there you go. Donut Prince, fun name, by the way. I'll take a gluten-free if you have. Hi, Dr. McGrath. I was wondering if our OCD can be fixated on one person that's not your partner. It scares me and makes me feel like I don't love my girlfriend. Of course, OCD can do whatever the hell it wants to, because OCD does not follow regular logic, right? OCD follows OCD logic, and OCD logic has no limits, and therefore OCD will do whatever the heck it wants to do. So sure, absolutely, 100%. If that's the way it is, that's the way it is, because that's what OCD does. Okay. We're at our 15-minute to go mark, everyone. Let's all do a stretch. There we go. All right. Very good. Remember, OCD is bad, right? Nobody wants OCD. It sucks. It's crappy. So download the NoCD app and get that at Google Play or iOS. And for those of you on the NoCD app, our community is very helpful and wonderful to bounce ideas off of everybody else. And also, remember, Teletherapy available through the NoCD app in all 50 states now, with more and more insurance companies all the time helping you to pay for that therapy. So reach out to us at nocd.com or treatmyocd.com, and we'd be more than happy to assist you. How do I know if it's 100% OCD? You don't. You don't know if it's 100% anything at any time, anywhere, any place you ever are at. So therefore, you'll never know if it's 100% OCD. Next, what do you think about Freud's ideas about OCD, especially pure OCD? I think they were ridiculous. All right, so moving on. I mean, really, hey, nice attempt, good first try, A for effort, but I see nothing in terms of the reason you have OCD thoughts is because your potty training from your parents didn't go so great. So I would just kind of move on from that. I wash my hands because it's hygiene, not because my OCD tells me to wash my hands. Yeah, good for you. Excellent. What if it isn't my OCD and I do want to quit? Well, again, we kind of get to this notion of what if, right? So it's interesting, right, that some people are afraid to get an OCD diagnosis because if they find out it's not OCD, they think, well, that must mean that I'm an awful, horrible being then who has these thoughts because I can't attribute it to OCD. So here's the thing. I don't want to see anybody lose their life to OCD or to the depression that they have because they have OCD. And it's just sad that that happens. It's just sad that people do it because OCD is amazingly treatable. But people get caught up in this notion that I have to know 100% the answer to this, or I have to know 100% that this is OCD or something of that nature as well too. No one can give you that answer, right? I don't have 100% guarantee I'll make it up the stairs to dinner tonight. I could fall and then crack my head open and die on the landing. I mean, I just have no 100% whatsoever for anything. And this again is the lie told by obsessive compulsive disorder when it tells you you can find a 100% answer that satisfies me if you just keep going and looking for it. And the answer is that's a lie. That is a big fat lie. That's all that it is. It's just a big fat lie. There is no 100% answer that OCD has ever been satisfied by. I've never once in 21 years of treating OCD met a person who said, you know, that answer you just gave me, it finally satisfied my OCD and now it's gone. That's never going to happen. It's not the way it works. Remember, OCD uses OCD logic, not regular logic. So. Toy says, man, it would be super if my OCD told me good things. Wouldn't it be? I mean, no one's does, but boy, wouldn't it be interesting if that's the case? So for all of you who want a 100% answer, I can't give it to you. I just can't because I don't have a 100% answer for anything about myself or about my relationship or about my wife or the wiring in my house or the plumbing in my house. It could leak tonight. I don't know. It could, right? One of these pictures could fall off the wall tonight. I don't know. I don't have 100% for it. And that's fine. I'm okay with that. I don't have a 100% guarantee somebody won't try to break into my house tonight. Should I sit up all night with a baseball bat and wait and see? Would it be irresponsible of me to go to sleep knowing that there's a potential that someone could break in? Or should I go to sleep? That's what I'm going to do. Because I am okay with not having 100% answers for things. I have ROCD, and I'm in therapy with no CD. Wonderful, great. I struggle with knowing whether it's truly OCD or whether I'm in denial, convincing myself because I don't want to hurt my partner. What can I do? Wow. What a theme tonight we have. Everybody wanting these 100% answers for things. If anyone has a 100% absolute knowledge that the next time they drive, at least, let's say, because you could say, well, look, I drove and all you did was move a foot. That the next time you drive at least 5 miles, that you won't get into a car accident. Does anyone have a 100% guarantee of that? If you do, please write to me. Okay. And if you do, I want to know how you have it, because there's a basic thing we do every day that we don't have 100% on. And yet look at all these questions about having to have 100% about these certain types of things. Well, isn't it fascinating that all of you accept the 100% lacking in the ability to know if you're going to get where you're going when driving a car, and you don't seem to care? Why not? Why does that one not bother you? But the fact that maybe I actually don't want to be in the relationship and I'm in, and I've convinced myself that I do, but that's actually a lie. And therefore I have to 100% know that I actually love the partner that I have. But can anyone know that? Is that knowable? I don't think so. I can't even tell you I 100% love my wife. I don't know what it even means to 100% love someone. I have no concept of that. You know why? Because that's a ridiculous notion. Now, OCD loves that notion and tells you that, oh, no, that's possible. You got to figure it out. You got to figure out how to get there, because it's totally doable. And you just haven't figured it out yet. Well, once you do, then you'll know everything. And then you won't have to worry about if you should be with each other or not, because you'll 100% know if you should be with each other or not. That's ridiculous. And yet, OCD says, oh, no, it's not ridiculous, Dr. McGrath, you're an idiot. What is ridiculous is you saying that I don't know if I 100% love someone. That's ridiculous, because that's unacceptable. And only by knowing 100% if I love someone am I okay with being with them. All right, well, then guess what, OCD? We're going to have to agree to disagree. And hey, OCD, I think you suck, by the way. So, I can't give all of you the answers to your questions, because your questions are unanswerable, because your questions are OCD related and not more of day-to-day logic related. Okay. And guess what? Even if I told you I 100% know that you love the person that you're with, you would say to me, are you sure? How do you really know? I could never even give you the answer you wanted, even if I tried. It would not be possible. So it's useless for me to even try, because I can't even give you what you want, because you're not going to believe me anyway. I mean, I guarantee this. If you had a health-related anxiety kind of OCD, and 99 doctors said to you, you're fine, everything's okay, and one said, well, maybe there's a little something, you would say, see, I knew it. I knew there was something. Those 99 others, they're idiots. They didn't know what the hell they were talking about. But look at this guy or this woman. She knows what the heck I'm talking about. She knew there was something wrong. And I've known this all along. And finally, here's a female doctor who knows there's something wrong with me. Good job, ma'am. Proud to work with you. Could we set up appointments for the next 10 years to meet with each other to get to the root of the problem? I've never found OCD to like good advice. Sure loves bad advice, but I've never once found it to like good advice. If OCD was an animal, it'd be a pufferfish making itself seem bigger than what it is. Yeah, well, that's for sure. Someone said, I wish we could have a math equation or something like that to give me a certain answer for everything. Well, guess what? There's no way. There's just no way to have 100% guarantee or a math equation to know that, right? Let's see. Does anyone ever feel that the moment you decide to start treatment, you just call it off or cancel it because you realize OCD is stupid, but then it comes back again? Yeah. OCD will hide itself for a little while, say, yeah, you don't need treatment. Oh, look, I'm feeling better. And then after you call off treatment, be like, oh, now I can come back again. Thank you very much. Yep. Let's see what else we got here. Laughing out loud at news announcement. No need to freak out about everything. It feels good to kind of laugh about it for a minute because remaining minutes of my day are spent tense with anxiety about OCD. And yes, I love to get people to laugh about it, right? I mean, I would never make fun of anyone who has OCD, but I will make fun of your OCD relentlessly because I don't like it and it needs to go away. So I will do all that I can to tease the crap and make your OCD as uncomfortable as possible because I don't like what your OCD does to you because your OCD doesn't do anything good to you. Okay. What's a good tip for stopping mental compulsions? I've began doubting some memories after never having doubted them once in the past. Well, the tip is easy. You ready? Here we go. Go live your life anyway, even though you have doubts about those things. And recognize that just because your OCD is throwing doubts at anything doesn't really matter. That's the best thing to do. If you're going to live as if your OCD was correct, well, then we have a problem. Because once you kind of live as if your OCD is correct, it's a really slippery slope of a rabbit hole that you're going to fall down into. Okay. Now, I haven't yet met an OCD that's correct. I'm not saying that there will never be one, right? I will never make a 100% guarantee about anything. But I'm going to be 99.999999999% sure that there's never going to be an OCD that's correct. But, that's kind of like Dumb and Dumber, where she says, I wouldn't date you unless you were the last man on earth. And his response is, so you're telling me I've got a chance, right? And that's the way OCD looks at the world. Wait, did he say 99.99999999999? That means there's a 0.000000001% chance? Oh, well, we're going to grab that one then. That's me. I'm that one. Woo! I found it. I got it. That's me, everybody. I figured it out. I got it. I'm 0.0000001. That's me. Hey. Or it's kind of ridiculous. But remember, OCD is ridiculous anyway, so it's going to go with the ridiculous things, and it's not going to go with anything that makes much sense by any means whatsoever. I doubt if something lying around me would be seen again and again while doing my task, then I try not to see it, but it's seen every time and I get anxious about it. How do I deal with it? Wow. I guess recognize that doubts about seeing or not seeing things could very much be an OCD type of thing, and you keep checking it in order to see it. And here's the thing that we know. The more we check something, the more doubt we have about it. Just like if you're checking locks or doors or the stove, the more you check them, the more doubts you actually have about them. So checking actually increases doubt, not increases doubt. Okay. It seems to be always interesting that people want to know if I have OCD. I do not. But I think I've got a pretty good understanding of it. And I hope that you all feel that way too. It's always a pleasure to be here with all of you. Next week, I'm going to have a buddy with me, Dr. Josh Batalnik. I'm really excited that he will be here. He's from Atlanta, runs a big clinic down there. So he's going to join us next week. And someone just asked, do you do teletherapy worldwide? Hold your horses, everyone. OCD is working on that. We're gonna have some announcements about that coming out. So yeah, we're working on the worldwide thing, everyone. We're going to take over. We're going to get this worldwide OCD problem solved. That's our goal. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. Remember, go to Google Play or iOS, download that NoCD app. Good to see all of you virtually. Be well. Be nice to yourself. Treat yourself like you're your best friend for the rest of the night just to see how it feels, and then recognize that OCD treats you as if you were your worst enemy instead of your best friend. Keep that in mind. Talk to you all later. Goodbye.